Mr. Speaker, we've had to set aside $300 million this year for teacher retraining. We need to match competencies with assignment. Teachers' colleges have to become multidisciplinary colleges. We have a surplus of general teachers, many of whom can't find jobs. What we really need is specialist teachers, even from the primary level, persons qualified in math and sciences. Last year we certified over 4,000 teachers. They were eligible for certification. The education system only required 1,000 plus as replacement. We have to change the whole focus of what the colleges do. They're too vital, too expensive to be allowed to maintain this level of suboptimal performance. The community colleges are offering a wide range of education, both at the associate and bachelor's degree, and also in other courses of technical and vocational nature, as well as leisure courses, many of them online. And we've collaborated with the Ministry of Finance and Planning. It's their responsibility. But I wish to assure students that there is funding for the Student Loan Bureau for the current and the next academic years, given the level of applications at present. And you know, yesterday afternoon, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce spoke and seek to claim the dormant accounts in the financial sector for the small business sector. I'd like to contend with him, Mr. Speaker, because I'm sure that if some of that were available for student loan lending, then there would be a far greater and more likely to be successful cohort going into the small and medium enterprise sector. I think so. In addition, the Ministry of Education has established a payment scheme with the UWI that will make it significantly easier for students to afford their student fees, especially the doctors. You know, a good thing, Mr. Speaker, more and more students from the lowest quintile of the population are in fact qualifying now for tertiary education. This is the success of what we all have done, what the society is doing. Let us be glad for that and make provision for it. And I'm calling or reminding that the University of the West Indies is giving time to students and their families to find the money, even to the morning of the examination, even when the students haven't paid and take the examination. Yes, and they hold the results until they can pay. And I'm asking the University of Technology to rope in on that.
Yes.
Yes? No more of paying money and then being asked to sit out for a year. That's not good enough. Well, Mr. Speaker, we ask the students who benefit from the taxpayers' money to respect the bonds that they sign.
Yes.
They must honor the bonds. We don't want the money back. The nation wants the enthusiastic and dedicated service of our educated youth. Mr. Speaker, our teaching profession is improving. Graduate teachers or teachers with graduate qualifications over the past 3 years have increased from 52% to 62% of the Jamaican teaching force. And we should begin to see better results from their higher education. But we do ask that they qualify themselves in areas in which they teach, as presently significant numbers of them are qualified in subjects that they don't teach. For example, Mr. Speaker, 708 of 1784 teachers teaching mathematics aren't qualified in that area. 249 of 366 teachers of biology are in the same situation. 129 of 414 history teachers, 156 out of 311 chemistry teachers, and 160 of 227 physics teachers. There is a significant mismatch, and we have to correct that now. It happened because there were insufficient graduates in science and mathematics willing to stay in the classroom, and many of them who went were attracted by higher salaries elsewhere. We have to provide incentives for our best qualified teachers to stay in the classroom and therefore to fit the opportunities that the two previous speakers this afternoon have shown, and the emphasis that the Prime Minister and all of us want to see in the development of science and technology. Mr. Speaker, we've introduced a virtual education system through the Education Broadcasting Network to deliver curriculum material in math, English language, and sciences. There's a ministry paper, and I'd like to hand to the Leader of the Opposition the Virtual Education ETV Guide. Yes, hope that will interest you, sir. And programs are being shown on weekdays and weekends on the channels which carry the Public Broadcasting Corporation programs, JET TV and Love TV. Much more than educational content will ultimately be transmitted via new media. The Values and Attitudes campaign can be pushed through that, yes? And GSAT, Grade 4 tests, and CSEC can all be purveyed there. Get the best extra lessons for free is the mantra that we're going forward. Mr. Speaker, the Education Task Force report of 2004, a bipartisan venture, has led for much of the transformative efforts that we are speaking of. Leader of the Opposition asked for it to be renewed. I contend that we need a permanent disposition towards transformation in education. Operational structures will have to be evaluated on a recurrent basis. Just look at us now, compared to where we were some years ago. The agencies formed by out of the transformation program, the Inspectorate, the Teaching Council, the Educational Leadership College, and the Education Trust, the National Parenting Support Commission, the Tertiary Education Commission are all functioning. Speaker, we're trying to offer better services to our employees, all 40-odd thousand of them from the central ministry. Cooperating with the Ministry of Finance, we're working on modernizing our financial accounting and personnel records management. I have an apology to the teachers who have gone on pension and sometimes have to wait months and years to get their pension. We have a backlog, but it's unacceptable. And we are going to try and clear that backlog within 6 months, Mr. Speaker. We're asking for greater accountability from school boards and better services for greater decision making. Can I tell you about Dr. Fida, the chairman of the Winston Jones High School? Yes? She presented our permanent secretary, not just herself to say, this is who we are, but rather with a plan for her school and a program for increasing enrollment and quality of education. That's the kind of chairman we want our members of parliament to nominate for chairmanship. That's the important thing. 95% of our schools are now operating on school improvement plans. For the first time, Jamaica has a baseline of school performance on which to judge students' achievement and schools' achievement as well. And the principals are not being defensive anymore. They're participating in the improvement there. I attended yesterday the graduation of a number of aspirant principals. They're coming in abundance and they're improving school leadership, which we know is so crucial to it. And I congratulate Dr. Morris Smith and the staff of the National College of Education Leadership. Yes. They've trained over 619 principals and education officers under its effective principals training program over the last 3 years. And so many of the aspirant principals, you should see the spark in their eyes. The Teaching Council is coming into its own with the introduction of the Jamaica Teaching Council legislation, which is imminent. Mr. Speaker, our Parenting Support Commission is now positioned as a point of reference for discussions on parenting. And I'm asking the parents to adopt the respect agenda that the ministry is putting out so that they can be schooled in those values and attitudes which can be transmitted to their students to ensure better education and more wholesome children. Mr. Speaker, this year we are instituting a significant suite of resocialization programs, given the fact that negative behavior tendencies, violence in schools, so cramps the educational venture. I wish to tell you of the various programs in brief, but allow me to say that grade 7 has to be the year for resocialization. We have to help them to know themselves better, to make up any deficiencies in literacy and numeracy, to establish their identity, to learn about their bodies and responsible relationships, and all of the things that will help them to best take on the education at the valuable secondary level. Health and family life education becomes critical at that stage of puberty. And you know, Mr. Speaker, while I support the decriminalization of small quantities of ganja, I want to tell you that we've had reports already today from some high school principals as to the effect of those students who feel that everything is free now and that they can use ganja in order to help them to do better in their studies. We have to state very clearly from this House that ganja is not for school children and smoking is not to be permitted in any school. We need, indeed, it is very helpful and you help with that. There's a whole resocialization program that we are engaging in, the health and family life education, the valuable pathways, the Dream a World cultural project. That's so exciting, Mr. Speaker. I'll tell you more. The change from within that has done so much in inner city schools to reduce violence, and the uplift of uniform groups. You know, we find that our boys do so much better when they have the experience of a uniform groups, and the girls too. Mr. Speaker, it's going to take a big push in the right direction to ensure that this year our little boys won't anymore lag behind our girls by 20% in number recognition, and that a similar effort to reach mastery targets in mathematics is realized. More parental involvement, better teaching and use of materials, good nutrition, these are the things that work. They add value to children's lives. At the primary level, let's stick to the basics. We need to take exceptional care of the children with special needs. We need to make sure that math and science are given, math and English are given their appropriate levels and of responsibility and emphasis. And we need to make sure that, in fact, our children are taught to behave themselves, taught to respect themselves and others. Imagine the progress that we've made in secondary education. In the 53 years of independence, we've moved from about 15% of the cohort having the gift of a five-year secondary schooling to just short of 100% this coming September. And they're not just passing through on any conveyor belt of disappointment either. Now a vigorous grade 7 remedial and resocialization program, whenever necessary, significant infrastructural and instructional uplift for weaker high schools, infusion of a much more relevant and practical curriculum, mandatory graduation requirements, and as the shift system is eliminated, better opportunity for excelling in sports, yes, in sports, in uniform groups, arts and culture. Mr. Speaker, all this is adding value. It will take time to materialize, but we must declare the process irreversible. What we have done over the past 3 years and are continuing is to fearlessly grasp the nettle of shortcomings in the education sector, consult widely, and then introduce transformative reforms. And we think that they're beginning to bear fruits. And it can happen if we maintain a climate of maximum goodwill. And when it comes to the adults, each and every Jamaican must decide what value you want to add to your life through lifelong earning. Start where you are and take your time and go through. This was the essence of Obama's life story and the message that he left with us last week. Personal development, national growth are not things that someone, a government or your special BOPs can give you. Now that the opportunities for quality learning are being provided far more abundantly, Jamaica must take up the habit of lifelong learning, for this is adding value. Some have posited a contradiction between fiscal adjustment and social uplift. There's no contradiction, but it is a sensitive balancing act between passing IMF tests and the people's test, between balancing the books and balancing people's lives. Transformed education is Jamaica's winning ticket, as it has been in Singapore, in Finland, and in Cuba. Not the folly of Brock out of Brockness, or the empty anesthesia of endless gyration or self-absorbed profiling. Education advancement is a winner for any and every political administration. Members of Parliament should be assessed on the basis of their commitment to their people's education. A good education is the ultimate people's test. Education which adds value, balances people's lives, even as we are balancing the books. Mr. Speaker, as always, it's a great privilege to play a part in adding value to the human person. I thank the Prime Minister and the people of Central Kingston. Education, adding value, is Jamaica's best asset and the finest creation of the Almighty.